In my years fighting crime, I've learned one truth. That every villain is the hero of his own story. Superman was no exception. The Joker drugged him, tricked him into killing his pregnant wife Lois, and made him trigger the bomb that nuked Metropolis. So when Superman killed the Joker, I understood why. We all did. But once that line was crossed, there was no going back. He gave himself and the Justice League a new mandate. Stop all crime before it happened, by any means necessary. But he couldn't see his good intentions were leading him down a path of tyranny and evil. That's how our greatest hero became our greatest threat.
This is Injustice 2. Enjoy. Or don't. There's no obligation. First thing I should mention, I'm not a huge fan of fighting games in general, but I have played the original Injustice and I'm eager to see whether this one is any better. Injustice 2 picks up where the first one left off. Superman's in prison, the One Earth regime is disbanded. This is purely set within the realms of the alternate reality. Everything here is not canon, so the writers have been able to go nuts with the script. Injustice is a one-on-one fighter. You can launch basic attacks, special moves, ultimates, and a few extra things to help round things out.
Salsa Storm! Bun Bash!
If you've played the previous game, this will immediately feel familiar. Returning characters have similar movesets to before, and the look and the feel of the game is just how you remember it. At this point, I'm going to bring up two major complaints I had with the previous game. Number one, the frame rates. The frame rate was a silky smooth 60 frames a second in the fights. However, the cutscenes were usually 30 frames a second, and often they dipped below even that. Number two, the tutorial. The tutorial was bare bones. It told you how to perform all the generic moves, but it didn't do a good job of telling you what each move was actually for. It made it difficult to know when, if ever, you were supposed to use what move. So let's have a look and see if they've been fixed. Frame rate in game. Frame rate in cutscene. Frame rate in game. Frame rate in cutscene. I don't obsess over frame rates, but the constantly changing rates in the first game were annoying, distracting. It's like I was playing two games that kept switching between themselves. This time round, it looks much more consistent. As for the tutorial, it tells you what each move is for. I know! Proper instruction was badly needed for newcomers. I've never played Mortal Kombat, so I was unfamiliar with the system the first time round. This is a big improvement. Also, unlike last time, there are character-specific tutorials that teach you how to overcome your opponent's defences. The game's story mode has 12 chapters, each with its own focus of characters, but unlike the first game, you sometimes get a choice between two characters. Yeah, you get a choice! And the cutscenes adapt accordingly. It's all done very smoothly. The story is well written, with the focus on character rather than spectacle. Dawn of Justice. As for the combat system itself, let's have a proper breakdown. Single buttons launch your basic light, medium and heavy attacks. Linking them together performs combos. Certain button presses trigger special moves, such as Batman's Batarangs, and holding either down or back block attacks at different heights. Special moves can be enhanced by burning part of your energy meter to power them. New to the game are escape moves that cover distance or get you out of trouble, but you do need to burn some meter to make them happen. The clash system is still intact, but the character animations are better than before. A defender can initiate a clash when the enemy uses a combo on them. Clashes can only be performed once per fight, and when you're on your second health bar.
Onion onslaught! Sesame heat seeker!
Both parties wager part of their meter on the outcome. If the defender successfully wins the clash, they regenerate some health. If the attacker wins, they deal extra damage. Oh yeah, there's 2 health bars with a break in between, giving you a breather. It also forces your opponent to consider carefully when to use an ultimate. Damage will not carry over to the second bar, and ultimates require full meter to use. Elements of the environment can also be used against your opponent, though characters have different ways of using the same thing. Batman may use the car as a jump stand, but Superman will use it as a club. The entire campaign took me about 4 hours to blow through, and that's including the cutscenes. I was on medium difficulty, that's the 3rd of the 5 difficulty settings. Until I got to Brainiac. Brainiac can go screw himself with those giant tentacles of his. By the way, Brainiac becomes unlocked after you beat story mode. Speaking of unlocking characters, as a pre-order bonus, I got Darkseid. I quite like him. He's got this casual, authoritative stance, even when he's kicking someone in the jaw. He insists on standing with his hands behind his back, like he's putting no effort into what he's doing, and you are a complete waste of his time. Other characters I like include the Flash, who feels genuinely fast, as he should. The Flash has my favourite ultimate in the game as well. Black Canary's Canary Cry is super useful in a fight, and I love her flippy attack moves. Green Arrow fires arrows really easily, plus he fires boxing glove arrows, which is hilarious. Enemies don't appear to scale up in difficulty as you play this time round. In the first game, the difficulty slowly went up as you played from start to finish, but the game kept on switching which character you had control, meaning you had to keep on starting from square 0 at the beginning of every chapter. This game, though, is different. The enemies stay pretty much level on difficulty all the way from start to finish. Well, except for Brainiac, but that's mainly because of his summonable stuff. Besides the campaign, you've got multiplayer offline and online modes, and let's be honest, that's where most of your time will be spent, with ranked and unranked matches. Oh, here we go. Jobless Lewis 69, ping 2 bars, yep, accept. 0 wins, 4 losses, win odds 65%. How did it know that? Okay, don't use the thumbsticks, Ian. Big mistake. Use the directional pad.
Begin.
Oh, remember your training, Ian. Remember your Gotcha! Oh, I'm slightly losing, but... Oh dear. He has that running move. I'm not that familiar with Robin. Hey, knocked off his health bar. Right. Oh. Okay. Hey, that's more like it. Yes, trying to turn the tables. Block. No. Bloody hell, my hands are sweating. My hands are really sweating. Oh, bloody hell. That was close. That was really close. Sorry, Jobless Lewis. Sorry. There's also the Multiverse, a single-player challenge-style online mode, which takes the place of the old Star Labs challenges, I think. This mode features fights with altering conditions and bonus objectives to complete that reset with new random ones every so often. Before a match, characters will say their voice lines. And is it just me, or are they sounding more coherent, or should I say, natural?
You will die where you stand, Earthling.
That's just a state of mind, sweetie.
Your lack of fear displays ignorance, not bravado.
Begin.
Instead of just saying a generic line, they now have specific lines they say when encountering a certain character. It sounds a lot more natural. Playing matches levels up your profile as well as individual characters. Why do you level characters? Well, they can earn RNG loot in the form of armor and ability upgrades. These can be placed on your character to give them an advantage in a fight, as well as alter their appearance. Well, let's have a look at this stuff then, shall we? There are loot boxes in this game, and those loot boxes contain armor pieces which upgrade your character's stats. Cleverly though, the game designers thought, you know what, if we have those purchasable, it's going to make it pay to win. So they didn't do that. No, instead they decided to make a different type of loot drop and charge you for that. So what we have here is, from the PlayStation Store, 2,000 crystals cost you 80 pence. 150,000 crystals cost you 40 quid. Now, there are 28 characters in the game, and what do you use these crystals for? Well, you can buy shaders, which change the colour of the character. Assuming that each character has 10 shaders, and some of them don't, Batman has 20, Green Lantern has 18, assuming though that they all have 10 shaders, the shaders are 4,000 crystals each. Which means that in order to purchase 10 shaders for all 28 characters at 4,000 each, you're talking 1.12 million crystals. 1.12 million. Which means that you need to buy 8 packs of 150k. £320. £320. And that's the 28 characters in the game. Because there's Darkseid, who's a pre-order bonus. I got him because I pre-ordered, but he's an extra character. And there's 9 more characters planned. So that's an extra 10 characters with probably at least 10 shaders. And again, 4,000 each, I'm assuming. That's an extra 400,000 crystals. You're talking another 100 quid on top of that. So the 320 turns into 420. What the fuck? No, serious. Everyone raked For Honor over the coals, quite rightly so, for its gargantuan amount of egregious, those visual customization options. These are shaders, these are pure visual customizations. It's still 420 quid's worth. But more than that, because I've just assumed that there's 10 shaders a character. As I say, Batman has 20. I haven't checked all the characters, but they have at least 10 each. It's not acceptable in For Honor. It's not acceptable here either. It's not. Let's not forget either, this is a 50 quid game at retail, brand new, 50 quid. If you didn't pre-order, Darkseid is an extra 5 quid. And then the season pass for those other 9 characters is another 33 quid. So you're talking like 90 quid there. And then 420 quid on top of that. And nobody tried to use the whole, the thing that Ubisoft tried to use. Oh, we didn't expect you to buy everything. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Because if you didn't expect us to buy it, you wouldn't have put it in the game. You wouldn't have done. You're expecting people to buy it. I mean, maybe you expect people to buy, you know, a little bit, just the bits that they want. There's still at least bare minimum 420 quid's worth of extras. Pure visual cosmetic stuff. Yeah, I know that argument. It's still 420 quid's worth of extras that shouldn't be there. It's a 50 quid game. It's not a free to play game. Is it just me, or is this game trying to be a full price MMO? Anyway, back to the game. The AI does the usual Psycho Mantis trick. It reads your controller inputs. That's not unusual for a fighting game, it just irritates me. With all the AI projects floating around nowadays, I wish someone would create one for this. As for fighting players, the game uses a player's stats and performances to assess how big a threat they are. It even goes as far as giving you a percentage chance of victory before you challenge them, allowing you to pick your battles. If someone challenges you, it does the same. Normally the first time you realise an opponent is way too good for you is when he's already kicked your teeth out. This system is an awesome way of finding out beforehand. Even the automated matchmaking tries to match you against someone of reasonable threat. Okay. Ping maximum. 6% chance. I'm gonna have my ass handed to me.
Fighters approaching Red Sun Prison.
Yeah, punch him in the face. Because it's the one victory I'm gonna have. I am not gonna win this, am I? I can't even get anywhere near him. I can't even land a fucking hit. There's no point me even doing that. I may as well just switch off at this point. There's no point. I knew I wouldn't win. I'm not even pressing the controller anymore. There's no point. There's no point.
Green Arrow wins.
When you come up against these kind of people, there's absolutely no point continuing. You may as well just put the controller down and walk away. Soon as someone learns how to bounce you constantly, that's what drove me out of the first game. That's what drove me out of the first game, just bouncing me relentlessly. I know there are ways to get out of a bounce this time round, but they weren't activating because I couldn't build me gauge. No, run into someone like that, you may as well just go away. As usual, you should expect some players online to spam the ranged attack from a distance. Use Supergirl.
You need to work out more.
I hate people who do this. I play games for fun. This makes it boring. Not fun. Oh, and matchmaking on day one was excellent on the PS4. Very quick, no serious connection issues. Did have one laggy match, but that was the other player's lousy connection. As I said in the opening, I'm not a huge fan of fighting games. I prefer action-adventure type games, but this one is very good. Not only is the combat solid, but it gives you enough evasive moves to break out of an enemy's juggle. You know, when the enemy tosses you up in the air, you can flip out of it. I like that kind of thing. Add to that the improvements to the tutorial, the matchmaking, the new threat assessment system. All of this makes the game easier for newcomers to get into. And it means that you'll actually spend most of your time fighting against opponents that you have half a chance against. My only regret is that they didn't use Michael Ironside as the voice of Darkseid. Darkseid's voice sounds a bit generic monstery to me. I would have preferred Michael Ironside, but it was a vain hope. All the other issues from the first game, they've been addressed. Injustice 2 gets a 7 out of 10. It's actually a great game in all fairness, but microtransactions. No. If you're giving me 420 quid's worth of extras, it better be bloody worth it. and it isn't. The rest of the game is brilliant. Solid story, characters, gameplay, all that good stuff. So that's my review of Injustice 2, 7 out of 10. Great game. Definitely worth a look if you like fighting games, or if you like the previous game, definitely check it out. Darkside's a lot of fun as well. Next review is going to be Tekken 7. That's out on the 2nd of June, and I will see you then.